TV. I'm Tim Murphy. This is Mornings with Lou Ann and Tim, and joining me right now is Jonathan Bugeaud. Good morning, Jonathan.
Good morning.
Jonathan is on the executive of the Sault Steelers football team,
Yep.
and your opening game is tomorrow.
Yes.
You took a little break, you guys. You took a year off to sort of recoup and regroup, but you're looking forward to the Don McBain Memorial opening tomorrow.
Absolutely.
Hey, I don't know. Okay, I do not know a lot about football. I don't know if you can. I don't know if you could guess, but I was never much of an athlete growing up. But Jonathan, can you tell me a little bit about the history of the Sault Steelers? They were around. They were a part of the city for decades.
Yeah. So they started in an old league that we had forming in 1972. It was mainly teams from Northern Ontario. Sudbury's been the staple of it. Sault Ste. Marie's been a staple since 1972. Progressively expanded and included a lot of teams from Southern Ontario. At some points, even teams from Quebec. But we've had a long tradition of success. Our first year, inaugural season, we actually beat the London Lords. They were, I forget what it was called. I think it was the Ontario Rugby Federation.
Yeah.
But the two of them came together. They created the first national championship game for our team. And we actually ended up winning in 1972. Created a great fan base for us.
A lot of buzz, right?
Yeah, established a lot of success early on for us. And it went really well. We had a little bit of a hiatus in the late 80s to early 90s, and then again, obviously last year with some sustainability issues, but we're back and we're going to have a good night tomorrow night.
It's tomorrow night?
Yeah, it's coming quick.
Wow.
Yeah.
The sustainability thing that I was reading something that you had written about the fact that some of the older players have been stepping down, and there really hasn't been that youth base to step up and replace them, and that there was sort of a decline in practice. Would you say the practice culture? I like the way you phrased that.
Yeah.
People, the dedication, the being able to commit to that amount of practice, and the roster size, just the numbers were going down, right?
Right. Yeah, and we had so much success during the 2007, 2011, 12 era that we had established stars at almost every position. We didn't really have guys coming in that were ready to take on the role because they saw themselves as just being consistent backups, and they didn't want to stick around for that. So every time we did have talent that was there and ready to come in, they lost interest and ended up going elsewhere.
So that was you had to do a bit of a shift in how you managed the team, really, then.
And it was a lot of filling holes on the fly, right? Because you'd have guys step away from the game or they'd retire and they didn't really give you much of a heads up, and then it was throwing someone into a position that may not have been ready to play at that level immediately. So we didn't do a good enough job succession planning, and I think this team is very young. They're very they have a core with a lot of years ahead of them, and that's exciting for us. We finally started getting young guys in the community to come and play, guys with great experience.
How did you recruit them? What efforts did you take to get that base back again?
Started building our social media profile, something that we did a poor job of until the last couple of years. We really started to make sure that people in the community knew that we were back, that we were looking for young talent. Last summer, I personally and another executive member took time to go and work with the Sault Sabercats, help them coach throughout the summer, because it was in a relationship that we didn't really have well established, and it's something that doesn't make a lot of sense to not have a direct connection with Sault Sabercats. It's really a pipeline feeder system for us.
I don't know who Sault Sabercats are, so you need to tell me.
They're the varsity football team, so they have two different levels, junior varsity and senior varsity. They run from, I think, 14 to 19 years old. It's Sault Ste. Marie representatives from all the high schools. So it's essentially an all-star team from Sault Ste. Marie that plays competitively throughout Ontario during the summer.
So you've created now a link to the junior players to encourage them to get involved at your level once they've moved. Okay.
And developed a good relationship with the director there, Steve Knott, and SMFA, or SMFL like now it's called, the president, Jim Monaco. So we started working with them so that if we ever had questions about a young guy or we were looking for a certain position, we could literally message them and say, who do you know in the community who can fill this role for us?
Right. So that's like headhunters recruitment, right?
Yeah. So that's something that we really didn't do a good job over the last few years, but we've really started to be proactive in that ways.
Now, Brandon Lewis is on board. He is now your head coach.
Yeah.
He's come up through the ranks. Is this true?
So he was our captain for better part of 2 decades. He played for us for 22 years.
Holy smokes.
Yeah, 20-time All-Star, multi-time Defense Player of the Year, and an MVP actually. So as a defensive lineman, he won an MVP in our league, and that's relatively unheard of in any football league. It's not
for a defensive lineman to win.
For a defensive lineman to win an MVP award.
Yeah.
So he was dominant right from the day that he stepped on the Sault Steelers. He never played football until he was 18 or 19 years old, I believe. I believe he stepped on the field and learned on the fly and dominated since. Yeah.
When did you start?
When did I start playing football?
Yeah.
Early high school.
Yeah.
I think grade 10, grade 9, grade 10.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's talk then about what Brandon's done that's been different, or what energy he's brought, or how has the team been restructured under his coaching?
For us, it was important to bring in a guy who knew the league. First and foremost, he has connections with almost every program in the league. He can reach out to coaches, ownership, and really develop a strong, relationship in that sense. Locally, it's big for us. He's a well-known name in the football community. If you've been playing football here in Sault Ste. Marie, then you will know who Brandon Lewis is. He's very much so an icon for young football players in the city.
I don't know football, but I did know Brandon's name.
Yeah,
so you're right. I mean,
he's a well-known name,
well-known celebrity.
And one thing that can really work in his favor is all the veterans know him. They have a good relationship with him, and he brought a lot of the old veterans back to make sure that they were part of the rebuild. So
excellent.
Yeah.
And now let's talk about the Tri-City Outlaws, because this is the team you're playing tomorrow evening.
Yeah.
For the Don McBain Memorial. And what is the relationship? What's the history between the Tri-City Outlaws and the Sault Steelers?
Significant relationship. During the championship years, it was either us or them every year. From 2007 to 2011, you were either the Sault Steelers or the Tri-City Outlaws if you were representing the NFC. So it's pretty significant. Comes back full circle to those championship years that Don helped build. So it's emotional, it's sentimental for us. It's a good way to come back to the league.
That's what I hear, that the Tri-City Outlaws and the Sault Steelers requested that they be opposing teams to sort of reignite that rivalry in the memory of Don.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Don McBain was a driving force behind the Sault Steelers. I see you're wearing the colors are still the navy blue and gold. That was Don's favorite. He had a favorite team.
Yeah, Michigan Wolverines.
And those were their colors, and that's why we adopted the colors for the Sault Steelers?
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow, so his imprint is still everywhere. Don, for those who don't know, died very suddenly of cancer. Let's talk a little bit about what Don's dedication to the team was. I mean, everything about leadership, lobbying, even financial support. Mm-hmm. He brought the team to what you guys called the dynasty years of 2007 to 2010, correct?
Correct. So he was the president that helped establish the team. He moved them over from the Sault Storm in the late 90s to the Sault Steelers again. We had a brief period as the Sault Storm. He was the guy who brought it all together, was able to give financial help when it was needed, was able to give organizational help. His work in the community, just even with Aboriginal housing, he brought so much talent when it came to business to our team, which really helped us legitimize ourselves. And if it wasn't for that, this team would never have survived as long as they did. And his impact still helped us even after he was gone to put the pieces together and know what it was we needed to do to get the ship righted again.
So you can go and enjoy the first game back after a year's hiatus. The Sault Steelers playing against the Tri-City Outlaws at the Rocky DePietro Field, is that correct?
Correct, 7 p.m.
7 p.m. Saturday, tomorrow.
May 26th.
May 26th.
Yeah.
Okay, John Boujon, it has been a pleasure. Thanks for coming in and joining us. And we're talking about maybe having some regularly scheduled programming here on ONNtv to talk about the Sault Steelers and sports in general in the community. So I look forward to talking to you more about that, and maybe working with you and Brandon to do some programming that'll keep the Sioux audience informed of what's going on with the Sault Steelers and the season.
Great. Thank you, Tim.
We'll be right back with Mornings with Lou Ann and Tim. Stay tuned. We'll be back in 60 seconds.